Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this webinar. So it's going to be a bit like smaller and more friendlier since we only have a couple people here. But actually, after the previous webinars, I'm pretty happy for this smaller group because then we can have a more private conversation. So hello from Amsterdam. I'm so glad that everybody is here on board with us. All right. So before we begin, I don't have my stealthy sidekick Sonia with me, so I am going to be looking at the chat and the comments. So sorry if I reply a little bit delayed. But what we are going to do here is we are here to review portfolios. Now, I have a list of portfolios that the folks sent to me on Instagram. But as always, I wanted to leave it open for everybody who's here with us live to send in your portfolio in the chat. And that way we can look at it and I can tell you my 2 cents. Okay, we already got one. So, feel free to just drop it into the chat. No harm will come to you. Well, probably not. Anyway, I'll set some ground rules here. So obviously, you guys here in live with me are the priority. And if we don't have enough or portfolios here and we want to do more, then I can just pull up my little list that I received on Instagram. All right. So there's that. And so what are we going to do when looking at it? I'm going to give you my first impression. We'll be changing my client hat / recruiter hiring manager hat to give you some feedback. I won't be able to read full case studies. So it's more like the high level things and high level takeaways. And also like the targeting positioning based on my assumptions. So I don't know what your goals are, but hey, hello from Jordan. It's nice to have you here. So maybe I will ask you to put in like, what do you want with your portfolio? Like, are you looking to get hired full time, or do you want some freelance clients? You know what? Actually, let's do that. Let's do that because we'll just have a couple portfolios here live. So please, Ola, Yinka, Jeremy, Gabriela, please just type up in the chat like, hey, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to a full-time position, changing positions from one company to another, looking to get into freelancing, and so on? Because if I know that, I'm going to look at your portfolio in a different way, okay? So after the Q&A, or well, it's not after. After we review the portfolio, if you have any questions, like feel free to type it up. I'm going to just look at the chat real quick and then answer whatever comes to mind. Okay. So then, what I'll be looking for when looking at your portfolio, I'm going to be asking questions like who you are, what you do. That needs to be crystal clear. And then like your introduction and pitch, like how do you come forward as a designer, how do you pitch your services, what is your specialty, and so on. And then we're going to dig into the project. So like the number of quality, the number and the quality of the projects that you included, because that's also important. So you need to have enough projects, not too few, not too many, and also there needs to be high quality. So I am going to go into that as well. And then we'll look at the process and the case study, like how did you lay out all those projects and how did you walk me through? And then the presentations of the designs themselves and the overall UX UI of the portfolio, considering like mobile friendliness and calls to actions and all that good stuff. Okay. So with that said, we have the first portfolios and we have the feedback UX UI design intern, big company, full-time, going all in. All right. So I'm just going to go in chronological order here and share my screen. So let's fire up Dribbble here. So this is from Olayinka and okay. So I'm a newbie currently learning and hoping to get a full-time job in my home country, Nigeria. Okay, cool. Akinola. All right. Okay. So full-time position. All right. Now it's a Dribbble portfolio, and here I will have to say that I highly recommend creating your own website. The problem with Dribbble is that you cannot really control who's looking at it, and you cannot go into lots of details on the projects. And it's it's something that it's just a social media profile. So what I usually recommend to people is that have your website where you can properly introduce yourself. You can do blogging if you like. You can, there's the contact. You can set up a specialized inquiry form if you want, or if you can let people book times with you, or you can sell, like products or workshops or whatever you want, and you have full control over that. Now, and so there's the website, and then you can create the PDFs and the slide decks when you want to target specific companies. But then it's good to be on Dribbble and on Behance, but look at it more like as a social media, and also a way to get extra traffic back to your website. So you don't want to point people to Dribbble. Instead, you want to do the opposite. You want to post designs on Dribbble and Behance to kind of drive traffic back to your website. And it works. It's great to be on Dribbble. I actually got some clients in the past from Dribbble back in the time that I was posting there actively. So it does work. But when I was talking to those clients, what they did was they looked into my projects and immediately wanted to check out my website. And if there's no next step, then that's going to be a bummer, and would turn a few people away. Because like I said here, if I go to the about, then all I know about you is that your name, that from your logos, and your biography is UI UX designer. So my advice, even if you don't create a website, which you absolutely should, but even if you don't do it, make sure that your introduction, you don't just put like UX UI designer. Like, what do you do? What's your specialty? Who you're helping with your services? Are you looking for opportunities? What kind of opportunities are you looking for? Etc. etc. Because it's just not going to cut it for anything, not for freelancing, not for getting a full-time job. All right, let's look at the projects. So I can see this is UX UI mainly. All right, location tracker, landing page design. Again, here, what I do think is the titles does matter. So they look all right. There's some duplication, which I don't really understand. So this and this looks the same, and it says landing page design. I don't know why it's doubled up. This and that looks pretty similar as well. Is it the same project? It's just a different color. I don't know the story. It's like, it seems to me that there's more designs than actual projects here, which I don't like. All right, let's go into a project. Location tracker. Now, apart from that, the design looks all right. The problem here, I have no info. What is this? Is it a concept? Is it real life projects from a client? Who was the client? What did you do? Is this just, did you just put this together and then moved on? It's nothing. So you need to give people more from your work, from your process, from your expertise, the process that you used, because it could be like you sit down for 20 minutes, create this, fire it up and then Dribbble, and that's it. And that does not make you a good designer or worthwhile to get hired. You need the case studies. You need the projects, whether if it's a live project or a real life project or a fake project, but I have no info, and it seems that all of them are the same. So, what I'm looking at, what is this design? What problems you were solving? Is it a website? Is it, a banner, or is it, I don't even know, what I'm looking at. So that's the biggest issue here. And even the quality is not superb. I mean, it's not bad in terms of like visual design, but I had an idea to make a design that creates awareness for Kendrick's upcoming album. Okay. So this looks cool. I would have a lot of questions around how it looks in a real life environment. And that's why I don't like when people present designs like this without any sort of device or browser or anything, because I would be interested in how it works in a responsive environment. Like, how do you imagine this would scale and all that? So yeah, to sum it up, if you want to get hired, you need a website, or at least you need a PDF. You need to do a lot better job at explaining what you did, what was the project, what were like the problems and the challenges that you solved, because this is not enough for anybody to make a decision whether you are a pro designer or at least a junior designer worth hiring, or you just sit down and maybe you can create some pretty things, and maybe in other cases you won't be able to do that. It's all about showcasing the ability. All right. So that was one. I can see the questions. Was playing with color combination. Guess I need a lot of work personally. Yes. Yeah. So work on that, and definitely, like I said, you need to be more elaborative about your work. You don't presume people just look at some of the pretty design that you did and then they will instantly get the value, what you can bring to the table. So question from Doa: how can I get case study to start my UX XI? I don't know what XI is. I suppose you wanted to say UI. So, all right, that's fair enough. Okay, so how can you get a case study? If you mean the project, so the case study is how it's laid out. So the case study is essentially how you present a project in your portfolio. So the case study, or to how to get projects, there's multiple ways. I would harness the friends and family first, and then to look out for nonprofits or do a fake project. If you want to do a fake project, I did an episode on this in the UX Kitchen podcast. I'll just type in the link here. So this is the second episode, which comes with all kinds of ways to get projects for your portfolio. Question from Inga: hi, I'm planning to change my full-time job. Oh, I can actually put this on the screen. Answer live. Cool. I'm going to stop sharing because this is very annoying. All right. So I'm planning to change my full-time job, just moved to another company, and I haven't refreshed my portfolio in a very long time. I've been working as a product designer with several products for over 2 years, constantly developing new features and functionalities. And I don't know how to properly show this in the portfolio. Should I highlight a few key features and show them in my portfolio, include all the UX design process? Did you send a portfolio, or are you just adding this comment? I don't see anything from you. No. Okay. And you don't want to do that. Okay. So if there's no portfolio to look at, then, well, one, you definitely need to update your portfolio. It will help you to level up and switch companies. Now, it's what I would definitely recommend is to go through the project as a case study from the beginning to the end. So start with like problems, challenges, where did you start? Why did you do the project in the first place? And then just lay out the whole process, how you approached it, and then add some key visuals where it's needed. So I often see in junior UX designer portfolios that they share too much to a certain extent about their, all the photos of the post-its on the wall and the user journeys and user flows. Now, what you need to understand that even hiring managers and recruiters, they need to see that. They need to see your process, but you also need to be able to tell the full story, and then look at, specific, just focus on the end outcomes, like what did you gain, what did you achieve, how did you do that, and also sprinkle in some of the work in progress UX documents and all that. Now, if it's a product, because you were working on several products in 2 years, constantly blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's an interesting question. If you're mainly working on just a few products, then obviously you can create separate case studies. And if you are making iterations between them, that would be also a very cool thing to do. So I'm trying to think about my own experience where I was working on a product for a long time. And yeah, you can definitely turn the different features into separate case studies. So you don't need to limit yourself saying like, if you work with one product, but with several features, you don't need to limit yourself saying like, okay, that's one project in my portfolio. Because the time that I was working for ClickFunnels, I was leading multiple of their team or several of their teams, and all of them were focusing on vastly different products with, different challenges and problems and all that. And even though they tied into like one platform, I could easily turn them into separate case studies, because it's all about demonstrating your skills. And this is what you need to understand about portfolios. It's not really about the quantity. It's really about the quality, and can you demonstrate skills? And then if you can demonstrate different skills with, different projects and different features that belong to the same project, but that was a long-term project, for a lot of companies, it would be an invaluable insight, specifically if you want to get hired full-time. There are a lot of amazing portfolios. I can't compete with them. I can put that up here as well, so you guys all know what I'm talking about. So there are a lot of amazing portfolios. I can't compete with them. I believe I'm good in my skills. I can collaborate in a company. However, I can compete with those incredible portfolios I've seen online. I know I can compare myself with other people, but unfortunately, we're all visual. Any suggestions? Well, I can definitely relate, and it is true for many things in life, that you are constantly comparing and measuring up against other people, and especially if you are not on the visual side, you might feel that's that's impossible. The bar is set too high. Also, I met other people who feel the same thing, but from a different perspective. They are very good with visual design and UI, but the UX process and the strategy to research is not something they're confident or they're hands-on about, and they're just waiting on the sidelines, and they cannot even call them, they don't want to call themselves UX UI designer, because they feel that they completely miss and lack the UX part. So obviously there are two sides of this. One is, yes, like you said, try not to compare yourself too much. It's human. You will do that anyways, but try not to do that too many times. Try to focus on like what you can do to overcome the difficulties that you have at the moment. Now, I would say that the overall presentation of the portfolio, like how it looks visually and how it's laid out in terms of how did you write up the case studies, there's a lot of things you can do about it. You can write better portfolio, write better case studies. You can explain your process a lot better than many other designers. I know senior designers, amazing designers, but I don't know if they're lazy or they just hate updating the portfolios, but they don't do a very good job at explaining what they did. And it's all about, not just the visual part, but it's all about how do you explain your process and your thought process. Because if you are good collaborating, so you know that you can, give a lot of value to a company, you can explain that, you can hone in on that. And instead of focusing on the pretty graphics, focus on the kind of the value creation and collaboration aspect. Because believe it or not, many companies are looking for this sort of skill. Companies I work with, the company that I hire designers for, I was more looking at personality, soft skills, and how do you approach a problem, because that is a good indicator that you're going to be a valuable asset to the company, and you will be able to improve and constantly develop yourself given proper mentoring and background in projects. But the other thing is presenting your work in a beautiful way is not that difficult to learn. There are so many templates out there for website, for PDFs, for slide decks. If I wouldn't be on the strong side, or UI wouldn't be my strength, then I would say I don't know, I'll just download a template from, I don't know if you can buy that on Freepik, but there's tons of resource sites you can do that. Like buy a beautiful like slide deck presentation, turn your metrics into infographics. You don't need to know how to create an infographic to be able to do that. I mean, my girlfriend is into blogging and creating stuff for pregnant women because she's a midwife, but she's not a graphic designer, and she'll learn how to use Canva, and now she's creating beautiful stuff. Now, most of the stuff is coming from existing templates, and she can package all those PDFs and slide deck like to look completely professional. So don't get stuck with the visual side. Know that you need to work on this, and know that there are tons of alternatives. I would rather spend like $10 on a slide deck that is designed professionally and use that to present my work, than to get stuck or do something that doesn't look good. All right. Let's look at another portfolio, and then I'll come back to this question. Dribbble, Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, let's look at your portfolio. Striker, I forgot to share my screen. Right. Oh, very minimalistic. Jeremy Striker, product designer. Okay. CDAP, UX, UI design, fintech goals. Okay. What I'll say off top of my head, I would hone in on a little bit more on that introduction, especially saying you are a product designer, because in many cases, depending on who you talk to, but in many cases, product designer can be confused with physical product designers. And in one of the previous sessions, I actually went into this. I walked into this trap, assuming that the product designer meant digital, product designer, and it turned out it was kind of more like a physical product designer. So that's why introducing yourself and pitching yourself in a way that answers the following questions, like who you are, what do you do, what your specialty is, who you are helping with your services, what do you help them achieve. These are the things that goes into a good introduction and a good pitch. It doesn't need to be long, but product designer is just a title. And the thing is with titles is that it's going to mean a different thing for different people. For some people, product designer will mean, designing physical products. For some people, what you call product designer, they call it UX UI designer. Some people call the same thing as whatever UX magician. And that is why, okay, leave it there, but add like a 1 paragraph introduction, really, showing who you are. And I would recommend, just for being more personal, to also add an image. All right, Seed app. We have 2 projects in here. Could be more. Is there more? No, there isn't anything. Okay, so what I'll say is I miss information here. All right, okay, let me read this first. Create a fintech app for iOS and Android that allows the user to give to people and charities their desire based on their spending habits. Okay. Not bad, but yeah, maybe I would flip this around and instead saying like Seed app, which means nothing. The user doesn't know what the Seed app is. Is it a brand name? Is it whatever that is? So instead of saying that, like, turn it into a more like a catchy title. I mean, the goal is this is the only interesting bit from all this, and it's a pity, because if I don't look at this, if I don't read this, then I don't really know what this is. So turning it into something like, I don't know, designing a cross-platform fintech application that does XYZ, or that achieved XYZ, or to do XYZ. That would be a catchy title. Here, the brand is less important unless it's a well-known app. I don't recognize this app. Maybe it's a well-known app, but unless it's something that your people will instantly recognize, and they'll go, oh, okay, so Jeremy designed a Seed app. Wow, I use the Seed app. I like it. It's pretty cool. Or at least I heard about it. If that's not the case, then flip it around, because it doesn't add a lot of value. And since you have 2 projects and 2 out of 2 it says UX UI design, I would just remove this as well, because distraction. Like, okay, UX, you said you're a product designer and you have 2 projects that says UX UI. It's like, duh. Okay. Let me click on it. By the way, it's, to my taste, it's a little bit too minimalistic, visually speaking. So with the gray, it's not the nicest effect. Maybe that is your style. However, the designs look better. What I can see on the mock-ups look better than this. I mean, it's visually not really aligned. It's a little bit unbalanced, because this it's a little bit like shifted or tilted to the left, because this offset of the text, it doesn't look very nice. And then the other is, you flip it. I don't know. You could do a lot better job. I know, because I can look at these mockups and they look a lot better. Okay, so the actual case study looks nicer. I like that you put this thing on the top. Seed app, UX UI design, again, the same things I told you just a few minutes ago. Scope of work, persona, scenario, mapping, blah, blah, blah. Tool use, Balsamiq, Canva, Figma. I'm not a huge fan of the typography. For some reason, it's a little bit hard to read, and it seems like the kerning, if you apply kerning here, is, I mean, just letter spacing, it wasn't a good idea. So, it's because you want people to read it. It's not a piece of text that needs to look beautiful. It's a piece of text that you need to be able to easily read. And I don't know, it's pretty annoying to read. So, okay, see the process. What if I click? Scrolls down. Center text. From the UX perspective, I don't know if you know this. If not, then don't align text to the middle, like bigger chunks of text, because it breaks up the rhythm how we read, because we read by row, and you constantly need to jump between one row and find where the next row of text begins. And a lot of tests have shown that it actually makes the text harder to read. So, if I'm hiring UX designers, that would be my first thing. Like, hey, in the typography in this page, it's really not user friendly, and you are a UX designer, so I would require you to have a nice experience when I'm looking at your portfolio. Discovery, empathize. Okay, we have personas. Just let's look at. It's interesting. Is it not mobile friendly? Let's just quickly check it out. If this is the mobile experience, I'm not a huge fan. So be aware that a lot of people will use and check out your portfolio on their phones, and that is not going to be a good experience for them. Oh, but I like this. Okay, this is cool. So the skip to the end result, I like that part. Discovery, empathize. Again, the typography, I don't know about this letter spacing. It almost looks like justified text, but it's not. So it's not. It's very distracting. Defining the problem. Everywhere. You are so obsessed with the letter spacing. Ideation. How might we design? I don't even want to read it, and that's my problem. I don't even want to read it because it looks difficult to read. Resulting vision, application prototyping. I began some initial UI paper sketches to get up. Okay, right. Why is it black? I don't know why is it. It's weird. It's turning black. Information architecture sitemap. Right, low fidelity prototype. Not bad. Okay, this looks cool. It's a little low quality. And the end result. Okay, now it's a long case study. It's not bad. It's a long case study. And I'm not convinced by the results. These are, it's a small screen. It's a small image having five things stuffed into with this, reduced opacity thing that doesn't look good. It looks a little like muddy and grayish. It's not a good experience, and it's stuffed into. So I would definitely hone in more on presenting the end result in a better way. Limit the amount of mockups you put on one screen, and don't use this background. No need for this. This doesn't look good. So put like 2 or 3 screens next to each other, and below that, above that, up to you. Explain what's going on the screen. What did you want to achieve? Because many people will skip to this part, and they want to understand like your, what the end result looked like. I'm always, and I know a lot of people as well, I want to see the process. I want to see the steps you took, but then I'll fast forward to the end result. And if that doesn't look promising, you're out. And that's the issue here, that if I look at this and this is the end result, this is all I got, then I'm not going to take the time to read the whole thing. It's not worth it. So enlarge them, get rid of the background, make sure you present the final designs. They got enough space, they got enough attention. Let's just check out the other project, because you only had 2. Bean counter. This looks nice. A max width would be nice on this side, by the way. So, and the responsiveness, it's awful. So, if someone looks at it in a smaller size, then they won't have a good experience. Let's see the screen sizes. So where we are right now, we are at 1,200. So basically in a smaller screen size and on a tablet, This is how it's going to look like. And I don't think you want it to look like that. So, and on a large screen, so, this is not a good usability. So try to break it up, give it a max width, try to clean up, get rid of the center aligned text, because I like these. I like the low fidelity. It's pretty, but there are some annoying usability issues with the website, which doesn't come across as good from a UX designer. And then the end result, I don't even know why you wanted to box it up, but I cannot evaluate if you're a good designer, because I need to zoom in, and then it's like I can see the pixels. So I cannot really evaluate the final design, which is a huge issue. All right. Let's stop sharing and see a few questions. As a graphic, answer live. As a graphic designer applying as UX UI designer, should I also include previous graphic design projects or just dismiss them? Yes. So basically it depends on your goals. If applying UX design, so you want to get hired full-time, in that case, I would say that if you want to do work like that in the future, you can include it. If you don't want to do anything along those lines, then don't include it. Now, my advice is that on the website, you can include projects. Just be aware of the balance, okay? So you have 4 to 6 projects now that you can include in your website. That's the recommended amount. Now, if you have 2 UX UI projects and 4 branding projects, then you're going to be on a graphic design scale. So maybe just include 1 or 2 if you want to be more on the UX UI heavy side of things. And when you apply, then definitely create a specific PDF that only lists out the relevant projects for that position. Jessica, really appreciate it. Cool. Hey, Chaba, can I blah, 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 improving. All right, so let's answer this question live. This is from Olainka. We just reviewed his portfolio. Hey, Chaba, how can I improve problem solving as a UX UI designer? Or how should I answer the question, how do I solve problems in a UX UI interview? Well, you need to know a UX process. So you need to know, like, how do you approach the problem? If you just jump in and create UI designs, then you do not have a process, and you need to learn some. And, learn the design thinking, learn my 7-step UX process, or use the double diamond. Those are all good ways to start out. And to increase your problem-solving skills, you need practice. You need more and more and more projects. That's the way how you can really progress fast. How can I share my PDF portfolio from Yasaman? You can, if you upload it to Google Drive, set the link to public and drop the link here, I will be able to open it. Or you can also send it here. No problemo. All right, question from Johannes. What should I write to the conclusions of a case study if the project hasn't finished yet and I'm not part of the team right now? Oh, well, it's interesting. It's an interesting question. So it's an ongoing project, but you are not part of the team. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends because it depends what the team is working on. So for instance, when I work together with developers, and the design part is over and it gets implemented, but then I don't follow up the project. And then in that case, I focus on my role, which was the design, like what we learned from the design, what were the key takeaways, compare it to where we started. And in many cases, it's not like the big numbers like churn or conversions or revenue. It could be as simple as, the bottom line is that we took a feature and we really simplified the flow of how they got from A to B. And that's an outcome. And this is people, you need to understand that you need to be creative when talking about what was the outcome of your work. And the outcome is not necessarily something that you can measure in numbers. An outcome is that users are more satisfied with the product. Okay, right. But it's also an outcome that we managed to solve a problem in a simpler way instead of, or you can say that we presume XYZ, and you can also point out that there are some next steps that the team is working on. So, it's just to give those final conclusions. You don't need the numbers. Focus on what did you achieve, what was the most important takeaway, what was the most challenging part, and how did you solve that, and how do you, presume the product will live on. Jeremy, thanks for the feedback. I've been very frustrated with Wix. Yes, because it is not responsive. So it looks different depending on the screen resolution. Yes, in my experience, Squarespace is a better alternative. But yeah, you can go just with simple layouts. I do believe that it's better to have a simpler layout that you can totally control and it looks great than something fancy that can break easily, or you don't have the full control over it. Or learn Webflow. That's also a good tool. Another question from Jessica. How do we know when a case study is good enough to be part of a portfolio or it is not exactly? Yes. So I don't know if you, Jessica, were part of the 5 mistakes webinar that I did. There's a replay available. I show a little process how you can vet through the projects there. But essentially, you can ask for feedback from other people. That's a good way to go about it. But it's also, it depends on, you mean the case study itself or the project itself? Because I'm sure that you can also evaluate that how do you feel about that project? How do you feel about the visuals? How do you feel about the process? How do you feel about the overall presentation? If you're unsure, I would advise to just go out and ask for some feedback. But if you sit down and if you approach it from the client's perspective and say like, okay, does it look engaging? Do I understand the story of the project? Do I understand my role in the project? Do I know what problems I solved? Do I see where I started, where I ended, and the story behind the two, so between the two? If you can answer yes, then you have a good case study probably. Okay. Thanks for your answers. I know the question was a bit complicated. This is from Inga, especially without the visual examples. Would it be possible to share my portfolio later in a few days to get some feedback? The answer is, well, I don't know. There's going to be, so this is the end. This is actually the last webinar that I'm doing in a couple, few weeks, which was leading up to my portfolio course starting on Monday. So the enrollment is open, and people can enroll to that portfolio challenge starting on Monday. I might do a webinar reviewing portfolios later, if not sooner than in a couple months' time when I'm relaunching the course, because now if you miss the deadline and if you don't apply for this course, then it's going to be gone for 3-4 months. But then I'm going to relaunch it, and then I'm going to do another webinars. Now, if there's a huge demand on reviewing portfolios, of course, I'll do another webinar. Yeah, that is my answer. Thanks for the advice. Question from Inga. What are your thoughts on UX Folio platform for making a portfolio? I'll just put it up here. This is not what I expected would happen. So UX Folio. UX Folio is a platform specifically to create UX case studies and UX portfolios. Now, my recommendation is not to go with UX Folio. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice platform. You can create your portfolio. It looks nice, at least the website and all that. The problem is it's a dead end in a sense of you cannot really control it as a website. So you cannot sell offers, you cannot properly introduce yourself and hone in on your services, maybe later do blogging, maybe, like I said, sell some ebooks or design assets and all that. So yeah, and obviously the first one is free, and then you have to pay, and this is what I'm not a fan of. I would much rather pay for a website builder that lets me create whatever I want. You can create a portfolio with it. You can create service-specific websites. And, you have the full freedom. While with UX Folio, they will only let you create a portfolio, and it's going to be very, very limited. So I think the only case you might want to consider it if, I don't know, you just want to get hired, you don't want to do any sort of blogging or expanding your services or doing freelancing in the future, and you just need a very quick solution to upload your portfolio, and you don't want to learn a website builder. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't take much to learn, say, Squarespace. So yeah, I wouldn't put my money in something that's such a dead end and it doesn't let me to scale with the platform. So I don't like it, but you make up your mind. So another question here, answer live. What if I have 5 to 6 projects, but I don't want to create 5-6 case studies? It is wrong to have 2 case studies and another simple project with some summary and final result? No. And I teach this in the course, that there are 2 types of projects. There's what I call like the show-off projects, and there's your best work. Now, the best work is what you want to turn into a case study, and the show-off project is what you just want to put it out there that sounds good, but you don't want to show the full project. And this is extremely useful, especially if you cannot show the project or the full project for some of your clients, or it's not of your best work. For instance, I work with big names in the industry and like big companies and big brands, but the actual project that we were working on, I don't want to put it in my portfolio because I'm not so proud of that. And it can happen. I know my value and my contribution to that project, which was mainly making it possible that something to happen, but I'm not proud of the final result because outside factors prevented me from, doing a better job. But the company, the brand name is valuable. So that's why I call a show-off project. I include their logo. I maybe do like just a quick introduction, like to tease people that, hey, I work with this company. This is a pretty big deal. And then I use the projects that I'm really confident in and I'm really proud of to create a good case study that sells me. Okay. Yes, I would love to have the opportunity of a review later. Now mine is still in process, only structure, home, about projects, but without case studies. Okay, are we able to see the webinar when it's finished? You've said valuable stuff and I want to take some notes about it. Of course, there's a replay and I'm going to send everyone a replay after we are done here. Now let's get back to the list because I do believe we still have some stuff. We have a portfolio from Gabriela. Let's just review quickly. We have one from Gabriela, from Brandit Thompson, And then we have a PDF portfolio. So I'm just checking. I actually promised somebody to review their portfolio. Christoph. Christoph, you here? All right. So in the meantime, let's look at Gabriela's portfolio. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Cool. So it's a site created with Wix. Now, I will say straight up, it doesn't look good that we have the free Wix branding and promotion right at the top. It's not very subtle how Wix promotes themselves, but I'll tell you this, it's not a very good experience. That the first thing that I notice is that it runs under a free platform. So it does feel cheap and not so professional. And the link as well, it's like vidalpaz.wixsite.com/portfolio. So, if I would just opt in for a very basic package for Wix or Squarespace or whatever, and then buy the domain, is just cost a few euros or few USD dollars, but it will make you appear a lot more professional, like saying, Gabriela XYZ.com, and that's your portfolio. And then your email address is not going to be, let's check out your email address. I want to see. I knew it was Gmail. Yeah, instead of Gmail, it looks much more professional to say, info@gabrielavidal.com. And just to show you, let's just inspect element it out and get rid of, let's just get rid of the Wix branding here. Cool. Looks a lot better. And I'm going to magic this as well. hello@gabrielavidal.com. It looks a lot better and a lot more professional, and it doesn't cost a lot. So I highly recommend not to go on a budget with this. All right. Hello, I'm Gabriela. I'm a passionate graphic designer. I love branding, packaging, and UX, UI design. And I think you said you want to go full time. Let me see. Okay. Gabriela, UX, UI design intern, big company, full time. Okay. So, okay, let's look at this. I mean, again, more about me. I'm a passionate graphic designer. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this image. It would be a lot better to see like your face, and that forms a little bit, a better connection, because this is, highly filtered, and you have your your hand in front of your face. So, it's, I don't really, I wouldn't raise you on an interview. I'm passionate graphic designer, 7 years, blah, blah, blah. Hold master in advanced, blah, blah, blah. Special interest in branding. Okay, right. You could hone in a little bit more, like who you are, what you're passionate about, what your specialty, who you helped with your clients, what's the next big thing for you. Like, think about these questions. Now, there's a lot of different things in here, and yeah, I mean, for instance, this Geosystem advertising. Some of them have the hover state, some of them don't. I don't know, for instance, why the hover state does not work here. Advertising, branding, illustration. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not very coherent. So I would work on kind of this feed layout. And since it's so, I mean, I like that it's not like a very straight up tiles, but you need to better job at kind of making it consistent from the visual perspective, because it feels like, I don't know, opening up Facebook or Envato and seeing all kinds of different stuff. So, this design and this design doesn't add up, and together it doesn't create a nice effect. And you're also into branding, so I have high expectations. Okay, so anyway, let's go into projects. Goopera app. The same things I told before. Focus on what you did, what you achieved, and not on the brand name. Go Pure Visions is to democratize access to healthy, personalized nutrition. Okay, I like these images. It's great. So this is the case study. All right, so you need to lay out your process. You need to create a case study, like what was the objectives, inputs, challenges before, if there was anything before, and then build up the case study, throw in those in progress images, and then the final results, and explain what you did and how you did it. Because this is a nice design here, but I don't know anything about the app, and I cannot decide if you were applying a good process or you just put together something and it ended up looking great. So laying out the full case study is definitely a must. Without that, you cannot presume people will understand it and get it just looking at it. Again, it's not a good experience that this opens up a different page and then this opens up just a light box. And I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. I don't know why you do that. What did you learn by it? What the client gained by it? Was it a real client? Is it project work? What's the story? Give me the story. This is why it's important to lay it as a case study and try to be more consistent with the way you lay out the case studies. Okay, let's answer a question here. So, question from Ioannis. What about Adobe Portfolio Platform? Same goes as I said for Dribbble and I said for UX Folio. Have a website builder for your website. You need a website that is going to work for you 24/7, even if you are working, even if you have clients. That is going to be your number one online, constantly available business card. So don't go with any intermediate solutions, because that is going to be a trade-off, especially if you need to pay for it. And unless you already have a subscription to Adobe, then I wouldn't do it. It didn't work out for me that well. It's just creates that fake effect of I'd done my part with the portfolio, but I really didn't. All right, here's Brandy Thompson's UX UI design, passionate about accessibility and inclusive design. Okay, inclusive design. I would want to hear more, because it's such a big buzzword lately. Work samples. What do we have here? A little about me. User experience. I specialize in accessibility, inclusion, design. What does that mean? I create digital products serve as many people as possible, including those with disabilities. Okay, this is looking great. I'm just reading. Yeah, I don't know. I probably just would speak a little bit less about hobbies, and just to sprinkle in something like I often sprinkle in that that I was trained as a musician and that I played the piano. But it's not kind of a resume, and even in a resume, like, don't list out your hobbies. Nobody's really interested in that. So when you get to know the client or the company, that is a great topic, and people, we are humans. We are interested in the other party, and people don't just see the designer in me, but just listing out a lot of things like, hey, if you have any film photography tips or whatever, then it just doesn't lend so well in a portfolio. I love the image. It's great. It's very, it's casual, me-likey. Get in touch. It's worth to include a contact form, even if there's the email. I don't like it when it opens up like on Gmail why not have a contact form? It's good to have it in there. I don't like logo. It seems low quality, so you could do a better job there. It's a little bit plain, but let's look at these work samples. You say UX designer. Okay, so UI or UX designer, and your strength might not be UI. And I can see that here. You say information architecture and UX, transforming an e-commerce site to where to buy solution. Okay, now the title is better. So I like the titles. I would maybe add a little bit description, or just choose a different way to arrange the tiles, because it's just too much space. So either add a little description of what you achieved, what you learned, or rearrange that the tiles are smaller, the thumbnails are smaller, and you only have that, a title here. I don't think that's very important to show here what your contribution was. You want to hook them in to click on them, to click on the thumbnails, or to open up the project. I will say I'm not a fan of the thumbnails. They don't look good. They don't look engaging to click on them. What I like to teach, and I teach that in the course as well, is that when you create the thumbnails, think about YouTube and think about all those videos where all the attention they got is like just a few seconds, and they need to show something that's visually, outstanding in order to get you to click on it. And that's what happens here as well. You're racing for people's attention, and that is why you need to make these thumbnails really interesting, and it doesn't look interesting at the moment. So transforming an e-commerce site. Okay, this is, since there's a lot of white space in here, the overall presentation could be improved. So even if you're not into UI, place more emphasis on how you present your work. Get somebody to do it for you, get a template, learn how to do it, like spend more time, get more feedback. But the visual presentation needs to be improved, because this doesn't look good, and it takes away, you don't want me to focus on the lack of presentation skills and not focus on how well you executed on the UX front, okay? Because, user experience means experience of the portfolios as well. Too much white space. Problem, my challenge, use a CMS centered, cater to e-commerce to change the website to a where to buy experience. Do you explain where to buy experience is? My role, UX designer. Understand stakeholder interviews, accessibility, heuristic evaluation. Okay, I like this, that it's a sum up, but then if I want, I can learn more. By the way, here, if you can, put it on a target blank so it doesn't navigate away, but instead it opens up the PDF. Would be a nicer experience than navigating away. Anyway, I don't have time. Define, again, this, it doesn't look inviting to read on. Okay, you did sitemaps, cool. Sitemaps. You don't explain what's going on the wireframes, which is like too bad. So it's better to take a couple of screens, one at a time, for instance, or max two, and explain what's going on. What was the thought process that went behind it? You might have created hundreds of screens or dozens of screens, and you need to pick just a few, which I like to call the spotlight designs, that are most interesting. And then instead of laying out a dozen, pick two, one by one, and go super deep and explain what's going on the screen. Explain the design decisions, the process that went behind it, why it's accessible, why it's inclusive, why it's a good information architecture, why did you include content, why did you not include content, what did you learn on that screen when doing usability tests with? Because the problem is nobody is going to take the time to zoom in, open up, or whatever, and try to piece it together and decide if it's a good design or not. So, and the whole design of so it might be a good project. I'm missing the final deliverable. So even if it's, I mean, especially if it's wireframes, you need to do a lot better job at presenting those wireframes. You're a UX designer, and you need to present the wireframes in a way that they look really engaging. My extra tip, I would turn a few of those into UI so it's more engaging. I did that in my existing portfolio. I did turn it into UI, something that I was only producing wireframes. Why? Because it's more engaging. And many people only understand the UI stuff. All right. Okay, I'm going to see that. I think I got an email. Yes. All right. So I'm going to share the link real quick. Because we have a PDF portfolio in the way. All right, stop sharing for a second. Let me know, guys, if you're bored. All right, okay. Just downloading the PDF. Cool, we are set up. So sharing my screen. All right. So Yasaman, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm trying. Freelance UI UX designer, art director. Okay, so you are freelancing. Let's see. This is a PDF. Design portfolio 2020. It is 2021, although if you send me this portfolio, please put in 2021. Academic awards. Oh, did some awards. Work experience. Now, I wouldn't put this into a portfolio. Maybe, or at least the work experience is definitely not something that should be in your portfolio. And the academic part. The awards is a different thing. But I would turn this into something more visual, especially if you are freelancing. Like, it's boring. It's just text only. And if it's a cool project, or you have any sort of visuals around the awards, or you can create one, then it's a good idea. And include this part in the last slide. It's a lot better, because I want to see who you are. I want to see the problems you're solving. How did you solve them? All that, and then your contact information. I'm not interested in your contact information up front. Yeah. And by the way, I would say award-winning freelance designer. By the way, my 2 cents. Here are 3 awards, and you won first place. So why not say you are an award-winning designer? You can totally do that. All right. So here's a project: mining and metals trading platform, branding, freelance project. Okay, so these are like kind of the project spotlight slides, I like to call them, like icon set, Navify, indoor navigation application. Not bad. Maybe let me see before I form an opinion. Alpha cognition, face recognition application. Alpha reality. Hey, this is again. What? Did you include it twice so that it looks you have more projects? Okay, I got it. So, by the way, it seems a lot of interesting stuff in here. Off top of my head, I would create separate PDFs for the UX UI stuff and the branding. It's not good that it's meshed together. And you need to present them differently. So on a website, okay, it's all right, but in a PDF, you can be specific. So have a specific one for the UX UI and a different one for the branding. Now, for presenting work, it's you're just so it's actually too many projects for a portfolio. So I would cut down on the amount of projects and go into more details of each project. So these are really just some sneak peeks, and I cannot really tell a lot about each individual project. For instance, this is looking cool, but I would want to see, these are not the most interesting bits. So instead of this, I would want to see, like, briefly with text, what the project was, what was the business goal, and how did you help to achieve that? Like give me information to work with, because this seems exciting, and I don't know what it is, but it seems exciting, but I have no information. And then these slides are looking good, but you need more slides to one project to really showcase something. So for instance, you could say you have one slide here, and then the next slide is again about this project, but you show just 2 screens enlarged so I can see more from your work. And then next to it, you explain what's going on the screen. That's what I'm missing. This would be my number one question. Like, okay, let's zoom in on this one and just tell me what's going on. It looks like a screenshot from Mission Impossible. So is it a working thing? Like what's the screen is about? Is this something that the camera sees, or the user interface, who's interacting with the user face sees? So this is exciting stuff, but you don't give me information. So last projects, separate the branding from the UX UI, focus on each of the screen, explain what's going on, and give more info. It's just like, hey, deliverables. If you've been part of my 5 UX mistakes, or 5 mistakes, common portfolio mistakes webinar, then this would be like checking multiple boxes here, because it's not giving information, focusing on deliverables, and yeah. But this is exciting, so yeah, do a better job at presenting them. That's my biggest advice. No, it was a mistake. I don't believe it. You just wanted to show one more slide. No, it's impossible to be bored. I'm so honored. Thank you. The webinar is being excellent. You're showing our questions live. PDF or platform site is better. A portfolio must to be visual. That was a mistake. I'm new to UX, but I have 2 years of graphic design experience. I feel like case studies are a bit intimidating. What can I do to make a good case study? Also, will you cover this topic on your portfolio course starting Monday? Yes. So I will. Let me show a few things about the course, so that it answers the question. So this is a short list of what we're going to be covering. So we are going to be covering like how to be super clear on your goals, like who do you want to work with, and how you can use the portfolio to attract those people. That is your ideal customer avatar. And then what I was pointing out so many times in this webinar is like how to introduce yourself. I have a series of exercises how you can develop an elevator pitch. That is your introduction. You can put on your website. You can tell people when you meet them. You can put on your social media. That is going to, like, kill it when people when you talk to people. And then with the case studies, I have a step-by-step framework and worksheets. So if it seems intimidating to you, then know that I can even show you, like, why not? So, okay. I never show this to anyone. Not even students on my course know this. So these are all the worksheets that we are doing. And for instance, there's the crafting elevator pitch, defining your ICA, case study creation worksheet. So let me just share my screen real quick. So I have these worksheets and PDFs for everything to make things actionable. So for instance, this is the case study creation worksheet. And I help you how to create the outline, how to label up things. I'm going to ask you a series of questions to extract the knowledge that's in your brain, because I know in many cases you have lots of good things in your head. It just needs to be extracted. And I'm going to interview you and help you how to lay out those case studies, how to focus on the different parts. And then it's only the writing part. And obviously I have specific lessons to go in how to lay that out visually, and how to do a good job presenting those case studies. So writing the case studies, creating the design assets, like how to create the spotlight designs, how to present them, how to create GIFs and videos. Should you embed prototypes? Should you embed presentations? How to present the non-sexy stuff like user flows and and documentation. How do you apply use infographics in your screen? It's all great stuff. And basically, I give you a framework for how to create the website portfolio, like step by step, and then the niche specific like PDF. So I'm giving you the full ecosystem, like how to use the website, how to use the PDFs, how to use the slide deck, and how to harness Dribbble and Behance and LinkedIn again to drive traffic back to your site. So we start with the strategy, and then we go into the case studies and vetting the projects. And I have specific strategies what to do if you don't have enough or not enough good projects. So we'll touch upon everything that's been said here. And then week 4 is the website, and three is the website, and 4 is the PDF and the slide deck. And there is the 3-day money back guarantee. So starting from the day of your purchase, you have 30 days to figure out if you want to stay in and if you like the course. And if not, you just need to show me that you've put in the work, but you still don't like it. You're not confident about this, and you want your money back. And I will give it back, no questions asked, because one, I'm so confident in this course because this is how I did it. This is how I will update my own portfolio very soon. And of course, I don't want you to feel bad about any purchase that you did with me. What is the best way to create your own website without coding skills? We'll touch upon that. I love dogs, doing yoga, blah, blah, blah. I will answer that in a minute. And for instance, there's 3 things that I really like in the course. One is the portfolio slide blueprint, which is a slide by slide. And you know what? I'll just show it to you again because it's so cool. It's so funny you guys see this before my actual students see this. But I won't tell them. So this is the slide deck blueprint, and where I teach you how to build up the PDFs and the slide deck. And we go like how to structure the pitch section, the proof, the ask, what kind of slides you can include. And I'm actually giving you all the examples of what are the typical slides that you want to include, and how to present, for instance, work, like how to present testimonials, how to present the process in your PDF and in your slides, how to do a project cover slide, how to do, the details, how to explain what's going on in the case, what to do, what to not do in these projects. So yeah, good stuff. All right, back to a few course related things. And I offer this personalized one-on-one coaching as well. if people want to enroll into the VIP package. So it's pretty cool. And we have a Facebook group filling up with action takers and go-getter people. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you're interested and if you're serious about updating your portfolio. So I'm just going to drop the link in here real quick. I don't know what I did that. So some questions. What's okay. Hazi, I prefer Chaba. Chaba's my first name. Are you still working as a designer, or are you focusing on teaching part currently? I do both. So to be transparent, I'm working as a designer. I have my freelance clients. I also have my dad working for me as a full time as a designer. So we are taking projects together as well. And this is a new thing that I do. So I wrote my book, and then after that, I always wanted to do digital courses. And this is my big dream, to go into creating more courses for designers and for B2B for companies as well. But yeah, I was teaching a lot in person and doing workshops and coaching. And now for a long time, I was planning to go into the space of starting to teach a lot more online and connecting with people online. So so I do both. This is a new part of my business. This is a new business that I started just a couple months ago. Thanks for asking, by the way. So you wouldn't recommend a typical friendly paragraph in the About Me page with "I love dogs, doing yoga and surfing," things that pineapple on pizza. I've seen lots of portfolios with that type of presentations. Yes, I don't recommend it because the portfolio is a professional thing. And it's great if you add some personality to it with just like one line or one mentioning of something that you're really passionate about. But it's not a social media profile. People are not there to like you as a person, as a human being. They want to see if you can sort things out for them. And I'm not saying you need to be like sound corporate. That's definitely not something. I don't like to sound corporate. I very much like to be like very informal with people, with you guys, with my clients. And actually, those clients who are like very corporate, they don't like me because I'm like, hey, what's up? Whatever. let's focus on the more important stuff and not get bogged down with like formality. But it's important to know that people who are checking you out, they are interested in your professional skills. On a call, when you meet them, when you start working together, you can add more personality. If you do blogging, if you do social media to build up an online presence as a designer, that's where you can start to add more, as a designer. But if you think about it, you guys as well coming to the webinar or checking out my social media profile or the UX Kitchen, you're not here for my pretty eyes. Maybe some of you started to like me so far or interested in some background, but that's not the first thing that you are interested in. You are interested in like what that other person can do for me. And then you start to form a relationship, and then, okay, how did you got there? Like who you are in the first place? What's your story? That comes later, further down the road. What's the best way to create your own website without coding skills and WordPress? I would say WordPress, that was a question. Yeah, WordPress is a viable option. It's very important to say I have I'm going to show you one last thing. The portfolio platforms comparison guide. Where is that? It is here. So I did this. I have a lesson in the course where I compare my top recommendations. So WordPress, Squarespace, Webflow, and Wix. And with the with the prices and the detailed breakdown, like from the page editor perspective, from the portfolio module perspective, and selling products and all that. And something that I really like to point out with WordPress is that don't get fooled that it sounds it's free. It is actually free, but the problem with it is that the CMS is free, but you need to pay for hosting, you need to pay for the domain, you need to pay for a website builder plugin that lets you edit the pages, because WordPress does not come with a built-in WYSIWYG, what it's called. It's a what you see is what you get web builder. So if you just install WordPress, it will just sit on wherever you install it and do nothing. And you need either Divi or Elementor. These are the two most common website builders that lets you edit the pages of WordPress. And you need to pay for them. And I actually did my girlfriend's site with WordPress, and it's looking pretty good. But then I got fed up because for everything I needed to install a plugin. What am I talking about? It's a blog. It's nothing fancy. It looks great, but it's just a blog. I needed a separate plugin to connect it to MailChimp. I needed a separate plugin to connect it to Google Analytics. I needed a separate plugin to be able to include that social share at the end of the blog articles. I needed a separate plugin for the cookie consent policy. Now, most of these are free, but again, you need to dig into the free stuff. Some of the plugins are rubbish, and you will need to get rid of it. Some of them are good. Some of them are you need to pay for because only the paid versions are good, and it takes some time to learn it. So WordPress is a scalable option, but it definitely has a steep learning curve. It looks easy. It's not easy. Now, there's, for instance, Webflow, which is very cool. It has a limited feature set, but you can do amazing designs with Webflow. A lot of designers go with Webflow. But again, it's not free. If you want to remove the branding and stuff, you need to pay for it. I think the easiest option is Squarespace and Wix. We saw a bad example for Wix. I mean, like something where the responsive thing was an issue. When I was building, I was preferring Squarespace over the rest. You need to invest a little bit of money, but it's not a lot, and it can easily turn out that it's on the long term, it's not as expensive as really making WordPress work well. But it also depends on your goals, and this is what I help in the course as well. Like, if you want to do freelancing, you want to do blogging, you want to have a more active social media presence, it's better to go with a platform that's more scalable and lets you do all those stuff. While if you just want a portfolio and also you create a PDF and you just send it to a few companies, but you have no intention of building an online presence, which you should as a designer, because that's a really good way to level up in your career. But if you do that, then some simpler options can work well for you as well. WordPress, the WordPress.com versus WordPress.org, the difference is WordPress.org is where you can download WordPress as the CMS. So you download it, it's free, and you upload it to the hosting platform of your choice. You connect a domain, and then you have WordPress. WordPress.com is just like Squarespace and Wix. It's a WordPress-based hosting company. So if you go into WordPress, it should be the .org, because that's where you can download the software, install it, and run with it. The only good thing in WordPress is the community and the plugins. That's two things. So the two best things in WordPress is the community and the plugins. So you have tons of support, because I think I saw that like 40% of the websites is run on WordPress or something like that. That's the crazy number. Now, if so many people do something, then it means that there's tons of materials on YouTube, on blogs, and on everything. By the way, all the rest of the platforms have pretty good stuff because people like Wix and Squarespace and Webflow. So, but the community support is the strongest for WordPress, and there's lots of plugins. While there's a limited functionality with some of the alternatives as well. All right, folks, we are on the 1:38 on top of the hour. Thank you so much for being here. It was really fun. I really enjoyed all the questions. Thanks for popping in. Thank you so much. Consider joining the 30-day portfolio challenge if you want to really speed up your career, and if you think that's a good fit for you. I would love to have you here. But other than that, this was the last series in these webinars on the portfolios. So nice to have you here. We will meet in the UX Kitchen episodes, which airs on every Thursday. It's on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And I'm also on Instagram. So if you follow me there, we can keep in touch. You can send me a DM if you have questions. And thanks again for being here. It was an honor. And have an awesome evening or morning or whatever time zone you're in.